I just want to tell you how we're all very happy and honored to have you here the second time at MIshkan Hakavana.
I said, it's such a privilege for me to be sitting here. I'm just grateful and in awe. So thank you for having me.
So what we are very much looking forward today is to go a little bit deeper. It's the second time that we meet to go into what we started last time. From what you heard and read about the Shakti leadership that you are so successfully leading, when it comes to women leadership, there are many things that are in common with what here at MIshkan Hakavana, which was founded and led by Rabbah Saphir Noyman Eyal. We found many things that are in common, and it will be interesting to see how we're coming from two different traditions, ancient traditions, how we can cast light on this.
Yeah.
So I have a few short questions just as a starter, and then I know that you'll take us at many places and we'll open it for whoever is here for more questions, okay? So I think for the sake of those that are not familiar with both traditions, if both of you are willing to say a few words about the source that your work is based on, how old it is, where it comes from, and where is the feminine part in that, just as an introduction. Start with you.
With me?
Yeah.
Okay. So my work, Shakti Leadership, is based on yoga, right? And in yoga, there is the understanding that at the ground of all things, the ground of reality is one. And that one is pure consciousness. It is full awareness, pure consciousness. It's called Parashiva, as in the supreme Shiva, Shiva representing awareness. There's also the understanding and the experience that this quality of consciousness is not a dull, inert, sterile ground. It is a profoundly creative space. And this creative energy that is contained in consciousness is called Shakti. So Shiva has Shakti in it. Consciousness has energy in it. And Shakti is called the divine feminine aspect of Shiva, which is the divine masculine, because this creative energy seeks to express all possibilities within itself. And the Shiva aspect seeks to enjoy all that and witness all that. So these two forces or elements are primal, primary, and inseparable. There is no Shakti without Shiva. Equally, there is no Shiva without Shakti. So when we talk about becoming practical, right, in this everyday world, the first thing we attempt to do is, as ego-based creatures who are living in a duality and a sense of separation from that source, and we are thinking of there is me and there is them, and then I have less or you have more, and we get into all the separation-based problems. The way out is to return to source, the root, which is go back to the ground of being where we experience the oneness with all that is. We cannot experience that ground if we do not know Shakti and know how to surrender to Shakti, because Shakti is the bridge between separation and unity. So the mother source, that creative energy, is the energy with which we return to oneness. So therefore, it's the bridge across forever, so to speak, from the oneness into the dualistic world. Is the creation that Shakti creates, and Shakti is therefore called Maya. She's the illusion of separation. And equally, she is the Vidya, which is the knowledge that brings you back to oneness. So these are, so in a very simple way, this whole reality, this whole creation is explained in yoga as a big lila. It's just a game. Lila is like play. That it's this wonderful, blissful dance of Shiva and Shakti, and their joyful union, which creates all of this. We are all children and expressions of that thing, and we choose to play hide and seek with the ground of being and oneness, and we become separated, and we feel the pain of viraha, which is separation. So that sense of wanting and yearning and longing for that beloved experience brings us back to milan, which is union, right? So in a very simple way, that is how we explain this whole game of separation and reconnection or reunion, which is yoga. Yoga means when we reunite with source. But that was the whole point, to forget it and to feel it like this pain, and then to also feel the joy and the rasa of separation, just as you can feel the joy, the rasa of union. So I kind of try to encapsulate the whole thing in a very short.
Not a simple job. Thank you. Rabbah, would you say a few words?
Well, I have a lot to learn how to encapsulate something which is tremendous. I have a lot to learn from it. So, if we are asking what we are actually trying to do is to move into, you spoke about awareness. We need to move into will. The origin of creation is a will that overcame the knowing, overcame the consciousness, meaning that the creator knew about separation and the yearning, but he willed, meaning he willed free choice. He willed free choice because then it gave humanity a playground of actually completing itself from choice. So actually, if we speak about, let's say we call it the creator with two powers, he allows us, we call it an empty space. Not a space that is empty, it's empty from his power, but it's full of its influence. So basically we are there is a possibility that we will choose the structure of influence or bestowal to each other than to control each other. So, but it is not, it's not a choice of our nature, because our nature is a recipient nature. Because the whole creation was created to receive the Creator's light or the Creator's will. So how actually you stay in an arena where you have to be a receptor and yet to be able to bestow, to be able to influence. So there need to be a change, or we call it a screen, or a new vessel. So the whole play is a play between a vessel and a light and a vessel. Now, in terms of the feminine aspect of the creator, it's the executor. He wills and she executes. It's like, let it be light, and there was light because of the female. Means that to actualize and to actually bestow the will, you need a female aspect. Now, this is before it was, one can say, this is the root rules, or the root of all the laws that we can engage with. Then there is the time of completion, which we call creation. So time comes into the picture, and for the female aspect, time is a power of destruction, because for her the the preferred power is birth. But in birth, there is part of her, like in true birth, that dies because she moves from being the center into actually giving life outside of herself. So if in terms of humanity, or what we need to learn, we need to sort of internalize, let's say, 10 qualities which are called sphirot, 7 in actuality, which is to do with qualities that humans choose to internalize and to adopt and to radiate, which is called, one can say, Malchut is discerning what kind of will is going to be active, what kind of reception, or what kind of journey we are willing to take upon ourselves. Then it is actually looking at eternal duty or eternal mission, which is called Netzach. And then it calls, which is the expertise of the female, which is called Hod, is actually to identify the need of humanity. Not to identify the personal need, but a spiritual need of the time. That's actually the female power. Therefore, it can explain why female was actually in the background till the moment of when it has to come into play, mapping actually the true need, the spiritual need of humanity. We're speaking about structure. If we look at the power structure of today, it's an acquisition, the power structure of acquisition, of taking. Even if it adopts a stature or a mask of giving, it's in order to actually get more permission to take. So then we can move into what can actually allow a radical inner change in perception and will, not only in consciousness, but in will. So I think this is the play between how consciousness affects will and how will can exert actually change, but from choice. So if we speak about the root is the will, and the will has 2 qualities that we can work with. One is faith, and the other one is pleasure. So this is where we connect to the joyfulness of the play. Yeah. So that it's, in a way, a similar structure of the play, with a bit different ingredients of the character in it. So I would like to ask you how you find the spiritual principle of where you're coming from, how it led you actually, and what kind of an expression in what you're doing today.
We have, of course, both our traditions are so rich that there are many levels at which we can engage with them, right? So we all start with baby steps, and we all start with our level of consciousness and the need at that level of consciousness. So I think what called me to the journey was just seeking freedom, saying, how can I be a free human being as a woman? How can I be the sovereign master of my own life? First is that yearning to be truly free, not just from external societal norms, but also my own internal conditioning. So that is what made me search for answers. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? How can I step into my dharma with both feet and live the joy of that? And there is the concept of the Jivan Mukta, right? In yoga, and I think even in Buddhism, they have drawn from that, which is the first yearning when we start awakening is, how can I be a free person in the body? Jivan is life, Mukta is free. right? How can I be free, uh, to be in the world but not of it, right? So I think my journey began with wanting to feel free in the world. And that's when I came to the study of yoga and Vedanta and started finding all these principles and practices whereby I started feeling more free because I became more empowered through these practices. I became aware of my own inner capacity, my own inner agency, and then I started building from there. And then it's not enough to be free. You realize you also want to be fulfilled. You want to feel like you're making a difference in the world in some way. And so the deep yearning or aspiration or prayer that arose from me was, may I be a Jivan Mukta Karma Yogi. A Karma Yogi is someone who works in the world, yeah? With the ability to heal every life I touch. So all this joy and pleasure and awakening and goodwill and goodness that I was beginning to feel from the inside in my life, I felt this deep desire to share it with the world, saying, why can't everyone be free and be as joyous in the same way? Because as I was sharing with my friend yesterday, that a day comes on your path of personal liberation where you realize that none of us are okay until all of us are okay, right? So that is the path I'm on. And everything I learned, I try to put into a step-by-step, easy framework or model for others to learn and practice. So that's the path I'm on. And so I wrote the first book called My Cancer Is Me, which is based on my husband's journey through colon cancer and his recovery at the age of 40. Everything we learned from all the medical traditions, ancient and modern, and yoga, and we put it together into a very simple framework and said, if you get diagnosed with cancer, here's what you can do. Approach it on these 5 levels: physical, emotional, mental, relational, and spiritual. Discover your stressors, discover your strengths, weed out the stressors, apply your strengths, and put yourself back on the path to health and recovery. Once he was recovered, I had to write the second book, which is Shakti Leadership.
How to live with health.
Yes. How to live with good health. What is the purpose of your life? It's not only just to be healthy. Where are you going with all that? What more can you bring to the world? And so Shakti Leadership became another framework which works on the 5 elements. Become more present, from there come into your true power, then become psychologically whole, learn how to flex between your 4 great capacities, which is becoming the wise fool of tough love, and then find your purpose and live a life that's congruent and beyond purpose, and know that there is a heroic journey you're going to make, because nothing worth having is given to you on a platter. Know that you're going to have to die in some way and be willing to let go the past in some way, engage your unrealized potential, put yourself into that discomfort. That's why it's going to require your courage, and it's called the heroic journey. And then once you get the elixir from that, the gift from the journey you make, that is the gift you have to share with the world. So it's been everything I have done is kind of captured in these 2 books, My Cancer Is Me and Shakti Leadership. And I think both my husband and I are essentially synthesizers and integrators. We love to find the truth in all the different traditions out there and then put it together in a way that is easy and doable to the common man, so common woman. So yeah, that's the work I'm doing today. My purpose, my sense of dharma is, after I moved on from to be a Jivan Mukta Karma Yogi with the ability to heal every life I touch, came the dream, and it came in a dream, that my purpose is to work for the empowerment of women and to bring the wisdom of India to the world. And that is the Shakti piece, So Shakti is a very beautiful distilled gift from the Indian culture and Indian mind and Indian body and Indian civilization that says there is enough power in the world for all. We don't have to fight with each other. We're kind of drenched in an ocean of agency and power and capacity. And when we can tap into that, we experience that pleasure, that joy, and we live a life that is congruent and on purpose and fulfilled and free. So it's like, here is the one thing that will open all the other doors that you seek in your human experience. So bringing the idea of Shakti to the world, I feel is a gift, and I share it with the world as my purpose in a sense of no, it's really a sense of privilege and responsibility. Saying how can I share Shakti and the idea in a way that empowers the world and doesn't seek to impose it on the world. Right? So it's meant to serve and support people wherever they are, whatever tradition they are following. Right?
I think if what it started as sort of empowering the world, Kabbalah starts with rebellious against the world, not accepting the way it runs, not accepting the way, and actually denying it the use of concept and words as they are being used. Meaning that we start with the premise that actually we are not vessels or tools that are able to feel the Creator. We are not able to feel our source, our spirit. So actually our first step is to acknowledge that we do not feel, that there is incompatibility between who we meant to be and who we are. So it starts with actually pulling the carpet from the stature of being sure about the world and who we are. And then starts a study or a search or a journey, which is heroic journey because it starts as a rebel, which looks like a rebel without a cause, but it is the cause. So I started as a rebel, not agreeing, not accepting anything, not even the Jewish tradition as it was at that time or as it is, because Kabbalah is an inner. So there is the outer Judaism and the inner Israel, which is Kabbalah, which was in a way like the light of creation, was kept or concealed till the time will come. So it was not a shared knowledge, Kabbalah, and it is when it starts to be shared, it has actually it poses a very difficult question to humanity. Actually, are you ready to admit that you're responsible for how things look, and how you're ready to learn, not to remedy something in the same structure, to actually radically change in yourself, to be able first to feel the will of the higher. It means that it brings back something definitely to the West. It brings back terms which the West has an aversion to it, terms like God, terms like belief, that we need to redefine them. So the deep agreement of anyone who wish to come into the study is actually a deep disagreement to how things are. And definitely to see the deep disagreement in oneself, it means that we are not compatible and we seek to be compatible. So we're seeking for a different way of being able to listen. Not only to listen to the Creator. One of the rules is that the only way we can actually hear or feel the Creator is if I listen to you. meaning that God is not in you or in me, is in the gap between us. And if we actually connect the gap, then we can, if there are many connections between us as a preference or knowing that I'm not complete without you. It's not that I can complete myself and then I'll be benevolent and bestow it to you. That without you and without others and connecting, we cannot actually feel the light and be a dwelling place for it. So to come into the study is actually coming from, as I said, rebellions, and then a deep surrender to a set of conditions which is actually the opposite of the way we conduct ourselves. So it's really a heroic, and it's for, even if it doesn't look like it, it's for the bold. Mm-hmm. And then female come into it in the back, through the back door, because even in the rebellious part of Kabbalah, no Kabbalist will teach me because I'm a woman. I had to struggle for 30 years to actually acquire the language that will approve me as someone who can actually join other to the rebellion, join other to be able to allow me and them together to expose something that is not it's not a commodity that is in demand yet. But part of it is to teach how, and this is the sensibility of the female, the sensibility of Bina, meaning the principle of the female part is actually how to acquire the quality of bestowal of the Creator into humans. Because if we don't acquire this high ability, we are always trapped in the will to receive to oneself. Even if we act as benevolent or we act with grace, we are trapped in the will to acquire. So we need this feminine part in women and in men of understanding that it's not the gift that we want the quality of the giver. Okay. So for that, if we are, it's finding the mission. I do not know the exact name of the destiny. I know that if I walk the path, then the destiny will unfold itself. So I don't know. I wish I know. I would like to heal. I'm not sure. Some of the people I would like to make sick in order for them to come to a consciousness of their sickness. So it means, and it happens, that you move from the need to be healthy, and then you come to be in a state of gratitude to life itself. Because most of us are sick because we are not in a true appreciation of the meaning of why we were given life. So we have to go through a back door in order to come to it. So in order, one can say, to prevent or to put us on the path that is actually saying we are like the first Adam, completely unreliable, not willing to accept our responsibility, and ungrateful. Even if we say every morning, thank you very much. It's a deep will. So actually to expose it, it cannot express itself in doing yet. So I hope it will come one day that it will be able to move from the will into the expression of the will. So you are much ahead of us in expression of what is possible. It's sort of it is a dance between the new, what we call Torah Chadasha, okay? I mean, the new Torah, which means the new light that is actually pushing human being into a complete, not only different perception, but different sense of their will, of knowing what the difference between their ego, their soul, and their spirit. So they know how to actually allow the spirit to influence, or allow the spirit to bestow life on us. And the way to bestow is through the 10th field, is through the letters. Letters are vessels. Okay? So the combination of letters, which we need to actually first accept that we do not know, and if we know, we use it, we exploit with it. We don't bestow with it. Yeah. So first, to admit to the exploitation part in us. So this is sort of the dance of the journeys. Okay. So, okay.
No, but both of you would agree with the statement that the role of the feminine in these times, in our generation, is extremely important. And I know that Nilima, you were very boldly take it into the business world, and the Rabbah is focusing on educating spiritual leaders, both women and men. And I would like to hear how, in your view, what is the crucial importance in this time that we are living of the feminine and its leadership?
So one is, of course, the lens of Shiva Shakti, but I think that Chinese have an amazingly simple concept of the yin and the yang, which kind of everyone understands across different cultures. So when I lived in Hong Kong, I was working with Hong Kong University on how they use Chinese medicine principles in psychosocial intervention. And I realized Chinese medicine is based simply on understanding a problem from the lens of yin and yang. And they say everything becomes a problem when yin and yang go out of balance. That's it. Too much yin or too much yang, or too little yin or too little yang. And that is what disrupts the dynamic equilibrium of a system. And so you experience disease or problems or whatever. So if you take that lens and you look at all the crises of our time today, whether it's depression and in society, whether it is corruption in politics, whether it's greed in business, whether you see the way the environment in the crisis of the climate right now, if you understand the forces of yin and yang in each of these diseased places, it's so simple. It's too much yang energy and too little yin energy. That's it. And the way the Chinese would approach it, they would say, dial up that which is little and dial down that which is too much. So very simply, we're having a hyper masculine context across the world. And this makes perfect sense because for the last at least 2,000-3,000 years, the world has been run on a patriarchal model. So that looks at all things male and masculine as superior and therefore valued and rewarded, and all things female and feminine as inferior and therefore suppressed, repressed, disregarded. So any system will go out of whack if it doesn't have the balance of the masculine, feminine, the yin yang force in it. So it's so blindingly obvious when you look at the problems across domains today, and you recognize that we need the feminine principle, feminine values, feminine behaviors to be brought back to restore balance, not to replace the masculine, because that will cause yet another imbalance. We need healthy masculine values and behaviors such as clarity and decisiveness and right action and righteousness, alongside healthy feminine values and behaviors such as caring and sharing and inclusion and collaboration and trust and joy. And if we don't have these qualities, life becomes this very dry, difficult, hard place, because the masculine without the feminine is sterile, but equally the feminine without the masculine can be chaos, uncentered, imbalanced, all over the place, like la la land. No, you've got to have both, right? Yeah. Yeah. So what happens is when something becomes overly masculine, the balance is brought by something going overly feminine. So we may look around us nowadays, and this whole excessive feminine energy, which feels a bit uncentered, ungrounded, to me is just a backlash to the hyper masculine. And hopefully, it's like the pendulum will swing the other way, but eventually come to rest in some third sweet spot, which has the right sanity of balance between the two. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, I see that it is it's a journey to understand actually the female part, because we're used to so much the imbalance on, but I think that the imbalance, it's a question of whether we're saying, okay, we are going to restore balance. I don't think we are on the path of restoring balance. I think we're on a path of actually creating something new, which means that Kabbalistic view of the female part is major, it's central, because actually two forces which are, one can say, nurturing and growing the whole creation and human consciousness are female. It's called Malchut and Bina, meaning the lower part of wisdom and the higher part of understanding, actually the plan of the infinite, or what we call Keter, or the creator. The creator, the full name is the creator infinite, blessed be his name. Okay? So inside the thought and the will of the creator, there are two powers, which means his will to bestow goodness to his creature. This is actually the definition of a creator. Okay? And the two powers which activate this will are female. It's called Bina and Malchut. Now, definitely Malchut, seeing that there is a need for the male part, the extension part of consciousness, of will, of reality to be, she needed to diminish herself. So the diminishment of female influence is as planned, but let's say, when it will come into the picture, it's actually the only power who can identify what humanity is missing for its evolution. The knowing and the will to serve that actually is inside the female, which is called Bina, which means understanding, standing under the will of the creator. So it will be actually a dance not between the female and the male, but all humanity is female in relation to the creator. So all humanity need to get a different balance in terms of with whom it dances. It's not among itself. It's being as a female, as something that is recognizing actually the need of its evolution to equate itself to the creator, equate itself in terms of that it can in itself bestow goodness to all creatures. So it's going to be a different dance altogether. So meanwhile, in order for it to actually happen, it has to restore some balance. but it won't be the balance in between humanity itself. All humanity would be the recipient, the female part that can execute the need of that which it wished to draw as a quality of light into herself in order to become an expression of it. So this is how Kabbalah seeing it.
Unless there are questions from other questions here, I just want to express how beautiful you portray this dance between the two. And if you wish to, just as a concluding thing, just to say a few words about your vision, how you see the work that you are doing in empowering women and promoting women leadership on both levels.
I think in my case, it's just deep gratitude when I hear someone like the Rabbah, who's an expert in her tradition, in integral yoga, that is my inspiration. We have the sense that the truth has many sides like a diamond, right? And so each of our cultures across the world have been given the task of taking one face of the diamond through to its full expression, right? And so we are all holding one face or one facet of the light. And the time has now come to put all that back together. And when we can see how together they reveal the full face of the diamond and the light and the creative source, it makes me, I love finding the common ground in what you were sharing. And I also love recognizing the uniqueness and the beauty of the difference, because we need those wonderful, unique differences to piece together the fullness of the truth that we all yearn to see. Saying we all yearn to see the face of the beloved. All right. So these are all the different features of the face of the beloved. So, and I think the ability to see these differences not as that which divide us, but that which will complete us, is what women leaders who are either spiritual leaders or leaders of just consciousness, this is the work we women leaders can do. Discuss in such a way that doesn't point out differences that separate us, but shine a light on these similarities and differences in a way that complement and complete us. I love that.
I think creation created differences and multiplicity and facets because this is one of the expression that will bring the reality of the oneness and its richness. Oneness is not uniformity. So when we're saying that the role of the feminine or the female part of everything is to recognize the need of humanity, it's to be able to actually express and define the principle of purpose for everyone. It means, well, at least the name Israel is a call. It's a calling for what is and real. It means what is real not for one view, what is real for all views that has a common purpose. So when we speak about creation, the difference between the attitude of let's say science to creation is how it was made. What are the rules or the laws of how it was made? And actually the role of the female inside, which is the religious part or the spiritual part, is what is the meaning of it. And the meaning for all the differences is the oneness. And it seems that there is a principle that needs to shine light on of the, one can say, to the starved part of this expression of each, one can say, old traditions, old beliefs that actually died in because of lack of light, and they will come to be able to shine because they will see their unique purpose to all humanity and their unique voice to all humanity. So, and that is actually the role of the feminine, to define, to actually phrase the meaning, because female can, it's an ability to feel the need for meaning, or the search for meaning. But inside it, it's not only that we are searching the meaning of our existence or the connection to our it's the first time that we are actually maybe beginning to realize that all the creational time has been one great call of where are you from the creator to us. And that is a female ability to hear it.
Much. Yeah.
Yeah.